So, in the context of the growing importance of sustainability and green initiatives, which are the project or any particular project or example that you have noticed which has successfully, implied sustainability or has incorporated sustainability? If you guys want to talk on that front, any project, any particular initiative that has been taken, especially in real estate front.
I think Hriday MCHI right now has taken up a big initiative, especially for the next 2 years. The vision is to promote sustainability a lot, to do a lot more work with green energy and in green buildings. So I think that's one. If I talk about an example, I can't think of an example right off the bat that comes to my mind. But one place where I was right now very recently was, it's again not an Indian example, but it's One Vanderbilt in New York. It's one of the most recent developments there. It's a high rise again, and the entire building is based on clean energy, right from their elevators to the glass panels that they've used, to the IGBC rating, to the building code, to all of that. So I think in India we're at a nascent stage still, and that's why I used an international example. And why I say this is because I think we have just gotten past the roti kapda makan, very early basic bare minimum requirements, and now we're thinking about living better, living more consciously, living what we can give back and what we want to leave our future generations with. I think those are very conversations of now that we have started having, and that's translated to the consumers as well, right? Of course, as developers, we're very cognizant of the fact that we have to develop better, because our buildings are structures that are going to outlive us all. But the consumers also have to feel that, because I may invest X amount of money into making the building more sustainable and make it a green building and get a platinum IGBC rating, but if the consumer doesn't value it, or doesn't, of course it comes at a price, right?
Yeah.
And if the consumer doesn't value it or is not equally conscious about it, it's a hit or a miss, in that segment, and that's a hit on the developer then. So yes, there are certain projects that can take that hit, where we as developers definitely want to do better, but there are certain projects which are very tight, which can't take that hit. So that's the practical truth of sustainability. That being said, I think it is a step that we have to take in the future, because we have to build better, we have to build for the long term, and there's a lot of amazing technology now that can be adopted. Lot of Indian made things that we're looking at now, that we're also exploring as an organization. So I think lots of scope on the sustainability path going forward.
So are there any initiatives or any milestones for Ashar Group in this front?
Yeah, we're working on getting our most of our buildings at least IGBC Gold certified, if not platinum. We've already had one building that we've delivered now that is IGBC Gold. That's in Thane. That's a residential project. That was one of our first ones. Apart from that, we do a lot of sustainability initiatives within our complexes, but now the endeavor is to really take that a notch further and at least do gold, if not platinum, in the projects that we can accommodate that in. We have a project in Pali Hill again, that's IGBC Gold, and most of our future projects. I think that's the bare minimum, and we have a team that's working specifically on research and development as to how to reduce the carbon footprint that we're creating, how to reduce just the usage of glass. I think there's a report that I read recently that said that BKC temperatures are just 2 to 3 degrees higher because there are so many glass buildings around it compared to the rest of Bombay. I have not personally checked as to how true it is, but I believe the sources, because it actually, glass has that type of impact. And so we're exploring a lot more in terms of technology and maybe other avenues as to what we can work with going forward. And we have a lot of good architects who are helping us with it. So hopefully in the next run of projects that we have in our next pipeline, we should be able to do that.
So Garima, Enlite has been quite active in this front, right? Has there been any project or have you seen any kind of initiative where they have prioritized sustainability?
So I'll tell you, this is really interesting. When people started talking about sustainability, which is really long back now, it was actually a buzzword, and in India also
Yeah.
it would be a buzzword. Now we make a technology which is called Know Your Building. Know Your Building helps you measure and manage from your usage of energy to your usage of water, indoor comfort, air quality, employee well-being, pretty much everything. So when we actually commercially started deploying this, we saw that developers came forward and they wanted it. This is something we did not expect or anticipate either. We thought, if we were in any geography apart from India, probably it would play out better. But it's not like that. And I'll give you some amazing examples. In Pune, we work with a developer, coveted developer of Pune called Malpani. And they have these huge buildings, 15 floors, a lakh square feet of a floor plate. And they have rented it out to either different spaces or even different co-working spaces. And their tenants have not asked for it. They have done that. They have state-of-the-art buildings. And one fine day we get a call. They're like, we have taken a lot of solutions from you, but we also want indoor air quality. We want some monitoring. We are going to go for IGBC certifications. And there are other things. If you could help us in those designs, that would be amazing. We thought, okay, this was one of the cases. And the next thing which happened was there was another developer in Pune as well who said that, a lot of people are doing IGBC and you have already worked with somebody. So what is it that we can do? And when we went to Pune to meet all of these people, my first question was, but why are you interested? Is there a client pressure? They're like, we don't care. Because now people are building for the future. These 80% of the buildings which are going to last till 2050 have been created. So you have to make the existing sustainable, and it's not a buzzword anymore. People are conscious. For the first time, a solution like ours, which is a very non-glamorous solution in real estate, building management system. Honestly, if you say BMS, people will think it's battery management system. That's how unglam it is.
Yeah.
But for the first time, a solution which was always put in the basement is being discussed in the boardrooms because everybody is talking ESG. And when a Blackstone or a Brookfield says ESG, you really think that, okay, ESG. There are mandates. You really do not have options also a lot of times. In your AGRs, you have to submit what were your ESG reporting like in that E. If you're not doing anything about it, if you're not measuring your E, what do you do about it? These are few places. Then we also work with a lot of retail formats. Now, interesting thing is there, if you're working with somebody like a Skechers, Nike, or a Decathlon, they have mandates. So we work with all of these. In retail formats, they're pretty clear about it. I want all the reporting. Not even a minute of data can go here because I have to abide by my international compliances. I cannot miss it out here. I need to do all the reporting. So it becomes a mandate for us. Today, interestingly, amongst all the implementation that we've had 90% of the buildings who are either doing IGBC or they are doing Griha or they're doing GEM certification because earlier what started out as a more marketing thing for a lot of people that, we're going to have it around it. They're also realizing what savings is it bringing about. Does having a IGBC standard or having a LEED certification, if it is reducing my energy consumption, if it's reducing my water consumption, why will I not do that? Because earlier sustainability was like, I have a nice facade. You see, there is so much greenery around. Go sit in the park.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. But what they're realizing is that actually utilizing what they could is bringing about a lot of efficiency to their operational spaces. We work in Middle East with a large developer called Aldar. Aldar's goal till 2030 is reduction of 80% of energy utilization today, and then till 2050 net zero building. Now, you can't create a net zero building. You're not going to start building a new building. They already have around 80 million of square footage under their portfolio. What are you going to do of that? Which means you need to have sustainable practices in the world which has been already built. So we do that. We see a lot of interesting companies cover the entire suite of real estate. So we are largely into the operational buildings. That if you're utilizing your energy in a certain way, or we'll tell you the indoor air qualities, we'll tell you the water consumptions, and then we will operate it and ensure it abides by those compliances. There are companies coming up in construction. There's a very interesting company based out of Delhi NCR. They make these bricks.
Yeah.
Which use 70% lesser of the carbon emissions which was otherwise generated. Interesting thing is that they don't have any inventory. Now they go to a developer, they say, if you're promising me so much, I'm going to just set up a space here and do it for you. They have so much demand and there's no supply that they have. There are companies which have entered into the cement space similarly, or a tile space, which are doing it by more sustainable practices. Again, now, one thing that people earlier used to talk about, and there was dearth of acceptance, was people think that this is an expensive proposition. Of course, it is. When you are going to comply to something, even if you get a certification, if you do a course, you take a certification, it requires money, but it has over the time value.
Yeah.
It comes in your eventual savings. And when I say value, it means tangible value. You're going to see savings, you're going to see longevity, you're going to see much more operational efficiency. So, being in the prop tech space, I've seen people cover from construction till operations. Pretty much every part of it now includes sustainability. There's a company called View, which used to be a unicorn at some point, funded by SoftBank, which makes glasses. And it reduces your usage of energy inside by 85%. So there are takers in the market, and there are now serious takers in the market. When we go to even tier 2 places, people are not talking sustainability anymore. They're very sure about what they want. They're sure about the outcomes that they're looking at. They just don't know how to reach there. So with so many new companies coming up and penetrating that, they are also able to educate customers, and customers are conscious. Customers are conscious about longevity of what they are doing, and everything else that comes from running those buildings, because you also will know that now people are not selling as much, at least the commercial places.
Yeah.
They are leasing them out. Now, when you lease out something, you still own that. You want to build it better. You want it to last longer. So I think there are companies doing superb job there, and I have to give it to a lot of developers, a lot of hotel owners, hotel chains who have mandates. ITC is largely on renewables today. You see their Gardenia, or you see their Chola. Everything comes from renewable, because they started doing decarbonization bit by bit, and today they have wind turbines, they have solar panels impaneled. So I think interesting times for everybody, and I'm sure more and more it's only going to grow from here.
So I've noticed post-pandemic, because earlier prop tech companies, few of them who are active in sustainability, had told me the same thing, that earlier everyone was like quite expensive. They are not looking the forward planning or the long-term future of it. But after post-pandemic, the conversation has changed, because now there's not just a requirement of certificate per ek press release bhej do. It's also about conscious effort and seriousness coming from the developer front. So what is your take on that, Nidhi?
No, I think sustainability is absolutely the lingo at this moment, and everybody is talking about it. Again, I think it's very, very encouraging to see the Indian developers getting into that zone, coming out of not only the talks, so during the design discussions, or probably how fundamentally the focuses are. I think developers have started talking about sustainability as a subject, as one of the agenda which can be taken to the market and can be sellable, can be an influence to the customer as well. I think one of the project which which has always fascinated me since I've kind of worked with that brand, and I specifically would name it as one of the buildings known as Godrej One.
at Vikhroli. I think I've kind of never seen that kind of a building ever. I mean, I travel internationally, have seen so many projects across international developers which are there. But this building is beautiful. I think it's, we always talk about developer to customer, but I think I would talk about developer to employees. I think being over there and working over there itself feels so brightened. Simple aspects like sunlight, simple aspects like how the entire ambience is. Do you really need some kind of a light when you're sitting in a daylight is one topic which nobody would have touched upon. But I think it's very, very beautiful to see that, till 4 o'clock there is an office where there is no necessity of a light. It's the natural light which comes in. Nice. So all those aspects, I think as a person who might not be knowing it very professionally, I would definitely say that has impacted that wow factor, not only for consumer, employees and all the key stakeholders have come over not as a concept but as an experience. So yeah, I think that's more important for me.
So tell me, Nidhi, we are going to talk about technology as we were speaking about sustainability. We have noticed technology and digital transformation have become the integral part of real estate landscape. So according to you, what are the current, in Indian prop tech company, what are the current innovative or notable innovations or solutions that you have noticed that could transform the industry?
I'll keep it very simple because I think, let's go to the basics. I think the core of any sales today, or probably for everybody, I think sales is extremely important, but that's how your cash flow happens. Now, the core of every marketing and sale is about getting the right client base, right? And to keep it very simple, earlier the acquisition of that data was never based on analytics, was never based on the study for that particular zone, demography, or probably that kind of a TG. I think it's so interesting to see that a simple platform like FB, Insta, LinkedIn today can cater to that kind of people who are looking for that kind of a property, that area. The segmentation of properties are happening beautifully today through the PropTech platform. That's part number one. Part number two is, I think, from an aspect of design, there is so much of data to go for analytics when it comes to PropTech base. So today, if you want to make certain kind of projects, you want to kind of go deep dive into what could be the right pricing. Would one really go in putting that kind of a cost? Would that price be taken by or absorbed by a consumer? I think everything, the answer is there on the internet today, or probably that kind of a research base. I think the overall environment has become so inclusive because of that. Be something which you want to, you want to socially network, you want to know people, you want to connect, you want to acquire some kind of a knowledge. I think PropTech has become, has made the life of people, corporates, so easy today to take the decisions. So that's the major influencer for the corporate. The right place, right investment at the right time is what is happening at this time. So I think, yeah.
So Garima, you're quite active in PropTech domain, right? So according to you, which is the current notable innovation which can transform the industry?
Actually, the premise is that real estate was the only industry which was not innovated. So now people saw a huge gap. And everybody saw. Now, the interesting thing about real estate is it's not a industry, it's multiple industries within one industry. Yeah. So now there are different touch points which have been impacted at scale. So what started with search and discovery, long back there used to be a 99 acres and a makan.com. Yeah. Now people have reinvented even that. You can be sitting at home and you could have these virtual tours. So it has started right from the search and discovery, which is pretty interesting. And again, with the millennials coming in to play and the ones who are the buyers, they are digital natives. They want to search more. They will talk to 4 friends of theirs or 8 friends of theirs. I'm sure they will not have more than that. And then they will go out on a rabbit hole of discovery. They will find out that, is it investment worthy? Is it not worthy? Does it look nice? What does my furniture look like inside this? Because those are the tools which have been provided today with commencement of so much of a technology, especially AI and AR and VR. They can imagine themselves in those houses. So that is on the search and the discovery part. Second thing is the operations part. Now, this is something which was largely untouched because this is not a very B2C space. This is very B2B. It means that a developer has to be conscious enough to think about the tools to be put in place. Earlier, there wouldn't be. There would be just very simple systems of procurement. So much things have come. Let's start making a building. Okay, this is towards possession. Let's complete a building and move on from there. Now they have also, with years and decades of development, understood that what are the parts that need to be efficient. Is it the construction itself? Is it even getting the materials delivered to where they are going to start developing this property? And a lot of data comes in handy. Where should my next property be? What kind of people and rates will it attract? And now, once that operations have started, how am I going to make this more efficient? I have built this, whatever. It is no more about, okay, I have built this, I'm just giving it to people, I'm just going to keep receiving the CAM charges. It's no more about that. It is about, if I'm making this more efficient and if I'm owning this building for 30, 40 more years, what are the different tools which can come into play, for which a technology like ours, or even a lot of other technologies, the ones who make platform of procurement, they can even tell you what all have you procured, how much are you going to procure, the future value of your building, the space and occupancy analytics which is there. Again, they can tell you that you can optimize it for so many people. If more than this, probably it will not give you more enter yields, but eventually it will be a very over provisioned building and you will end up spending more on that. There are trackers which will tell you your entire ESG matrix around it. So while we are in the E part, people are concentrating on S and G also, for which again you need data. And today you just can upload something and within the blink of the eye, you'll get that data. Then there are interesting things like a fractional ownership of property.
Yeah.
You invest in mutual funds, you invest in stocks. Why can't you invest in a house or a property? Because not everybody can shell out a 2 crore rupees. Not everybody has a salary to have a certain EMI. But if somebody can provide you now a way to enter a building and get rental yields out of it, and a lot of good developers are benefiting from it. I only thought that it was the people who are starting up are doing all of this, but interestingly, there are a bunch of developers in Maharashtra itself who understood this and they are ahead of the game. They are building properties just to give them on a fractional real estate. And apart from that, you look at a technology like a chat GPT. Now, that exists for all the aspects of the world, but real estate is not going to use it. Real estate, because it has been a slight laggard when it has come to technology adoption, because it's always like, but how much money will I save or get from this? That is what it was always about. But today, they are also understanding, taking this technology probably and making my people more efficient. My person cannot be sitting for 3-hour shifts 3 times a day. If I use this technology, this person can just sit for 2 times a day and the technology will take care of it. So whether it is managing the whole building or manning the security and the surveillances, there are so many technologies which have come up on that, from perimeter fencing to how many people come inside. In fact, we came up with an interesting solution in COVID, where we made access control device in which if you had COVID, which was then detected by the app that we had, in which I don't remember, unfortunately, the app name now, which would detect. Arogya Setu, sorry. It was so big and I forgot. So it was enabled with Arogya Setu. So if you were unsafe, you couldn't enter the door because the access control just wouldn't open for you. And we had developers who were so interested. They were like, this is what I want like tomorrow. Just put this now. So we've seen our fair share of interesting upticks in prop tech, but we've also seen similarly people doing fractional, people doing, apart from discovery, people have started buying houses online. There are a bunch of companies which are selling that and there are customers which are buying that. So what people used to think that, this touch point is very necessary. I'm not saying it's not necessary, but people are still now more open and more acceptable to different ways of buying a lot of things. And I think in next 1 year, we'll see a lot more things. And I'm just saying 1 year itself. The technology in real estate is changing very fast, and they are also because seeing a lot of acceptance and investment in the space, which earlier, if you are in real estate space, you're making something for real estate, nobody would touch it. Because they'd be like, oh, the sales cycle is so long. At what cycle is your product getting sold? Now they know that, okay, there are different solutions to different cycles. So I think a lot of burgeoning startups or prop tech companies because of that.
So Ayushi, Garima has touched upon all the verticals of PropTech. You tell me, you must have noticed if you guys started integrating these tools, PropTech tools, the NRI investors have increased a lot post-pandemic because of this AR, VR, and even the kind of metaverse has come in. So, what kind of solutions are you noticing are going to be helpful for a developer point of view? And also, what kind of PropTech tools as a brand of yours is also looking into to collaborate or, like Ayush, Karima had mentioned about sustainability being part of it. How would you collaborate with PropTech companies on these front?
So I'll run you through the entire value chain, right? When we look at acquisitions, whenever we're acquiring a plot, it's heavily backed by data. So we get data from a lot of analytical platforms. We study it. We decide what type of design. Whether we first decide whether there is some merit in the plot and whether we're going to sell it or not, all based on the analytics. And then we decide whether what we should really build on that specific piece of plot. That can range from I want to do commercial, I want to do residential, luxury residential, mid-income, affordable, student housing. I mean, the spectrum is really wide. All of those decisions are taken based on data analytics. Because now when we're looking at more like 20 million square feet going in development, it has to be scientific. Real estate today has to be scientific. It's no longer, okay, I think this will work and it's going to work. It cannot work like that. So data analytics is like step one for us in that spectrum. Second is, after we've kind of decided, comes the design. And I think design is such a fundamental piece of real estate. If you design wrong, I think first is if you acquire wrong, there's no coming back. Second, if you design wrong, again, there's no coming back. Because then if you design wrong, your costs are going to go up, your saleability is affected, your structure in itself, is not built for the long term. So, and that design has so many ancillary divisions under it. We have architects, we have MEP, we have RCC, we have the facade consultant, landscape. But there are so many across the spectrum. How do you sync it all up in that limited 45-day timeline, which is what I give my team, that you have to have the entire design package ready in 45 days because I'm acquiring a piece of land, I'm raising funds for it, and I'm going to have to pay a heavy interest, to some fund who have taken those funds from. So I don't have more than 45 days. So how do you run this entire spectrum almost to the stage where you have GFCs so that you can start your work and start excavation in 45 days? Most of the design firms initially would be like, no, we need at least 1 month for concept, 1 month for, I mean, those are real facts. They are designers and they're creators and they take that amount of creative time to come up with a good product. But how can we minimize it? I think BIM is a great solution. Once you have your concept ready, you can get multiple people, on one page and kind of try to churn it out a lot faster. And why it's helpful is because I can see all the coordination on one platform. I think that's a really integral technology tool that's helping us with the entire value chain. That goes into our bill of quantities. We have to estimate, we estimate for the entire project before we actually take it live, because we need to know what our costing is going to look like. So all of that, there are a lot of softwares that do that, right? I can even insert the drawing, it'll study the drawing and it'll give me the actual cost estimation and the quantities back. I just have to plug in the cost numbers, basic cost numbers, and it'll churn out the total project cost. All of this is a great reduction in time and efficiency and man hours, where I can, focus on more value creation within the team itself. That's on kind of the spectrum where we're trying to build something. And then, of course, the entire sales spectrum that all of both Garima and Nidhi touched upon, right from pre-sales, telecallers answering. We have 25 telecallers just sitting out of our office, apart from the other BPOs that we deal with. It's all on a software. It's automated. It's running. So the entire sales spectrum runs on PropTech. right from incorporating the VR to the extent that I know whether my client is coming from this specific hoarding or this specific Facebook ad. It is specific to the creative of the Facebook ad, and I know that at like a click of a button that he's coming in through that platform. So I think that type of intelligence is really crucial. Third part is the actual engineering and the production bit. So a lot of procurement platforms, similar to what Garima said, and engineering. I think quality check is such a major task, and it's a task because when you're juggling between speed and quality, it's a task for the engineers, which one should they focus on, but both have to go in tandem. And these softwares help a lot, especially when you're kind of checking the quality, making sure the operational issues are kind of taken away at an early stage. So I think across the spectrum there's so much scope for technology going in at different stages. And I was recently at another session, and that was an AWS and IBM session, and again the topic of discussion there was the role of prop tech. And I think the basic conclusion after a very intense discussion of 2-3 hours on the luxury segment and the affordable segment, the basic conclusion was that we're at the cusp of something changing drastically, because in real estate too now there are a lot of young entrepreneurs coming in, leading their teams, young developers coming in, or second gen, third gen, whichever, but a lot of young blood coming into real estate, and they don't want the operational challenges that come with traditional real estate, because in the end it's an engineering heavy business. You have to know how much steel, cement, concrete is coming in, and if you don't control all of that, you cannot run the business. So you have to know all of that, but what is a better way to run it so that it's like a manufacturing unit? And all of this technology kind of helps do that from the production side. How do you kind of transform it into a manufacturing unit? And on the sales side, how do you transform it to an FMCG business? And the culmination of that, we're at the cusp of something beautiful, that the technology can kind of take us from one step to another, and we're at a stage where a lot of people are convinced about using it, and it's just about giving them the right solution and they're gonna switch.